So, okay, we do have now some form of turns. We can drop cards, we can make them use resources, and so on and so on. Okay, so I think we could just try and do the combat now. As we had already opened, we have the game manager, and let's see. Let's go and add a game operation, but first we need to break down the combat into some rules. Let's do a quick definition. So technically we need to know when somebody begins the combat turn. So player begins combat, player assigns card for combat, okay, player deassigns or unassigns card from combat if you change your mind, and so on. And player, or either player does combat. So that's for one player. We do need the other one for player blocks card, and so on. Okay, we have a few things that we should already we have a few things that we need to start. So player begins combat, should be fairly simple. Then player assigns card for combat. Let's do these two first. So let's think a little bit. So okay, we first need to have a container for where the player is going to be placing the combat. Okay, basically just what we did with the before the refactor. So we have our down grid, we have our hands grid, and so forth. I'm just going to copy the down grid, and I'm going to call this battle grid, and I'm going to move this slightly higher, something like that. Okay, feel free to do your own version of this. And for the client player, I'm going to duplicate the down grid, and I'm going to move it slightly down as well. And this will be your combat grid or battle grid. Okay, now let's go and on our player holders, let's go and add the new transform. Let's duplicate this, although we do have this, I guess. Let's call this battle or combat grid, or I guess battle grid. Then, okay. So the similar way we are doing it with the down and hand cards, we're going to also have the battle cards, obviously. And let's go back to our game manager over here. So I think most of this we're going to need it. It's going to be very similar to this. Player drops card, and this now, yeah, okay, let's create a new, actually let's collapse everything. This is operations actual, turn management, okay, this can get closed. Let's do it here. Void operation, oops. Player assigns card for battle. We're going to need the player holder and the physical instance. Let's copy all of this, and we're going to delete what we don't need. Let's paste it here. So we're first going to be checking if the physical card, if the card that you're trying to play is actually in your hands. Okay. Now, you're not going to be able to actually, instead of checking this, let's check if it's in the down cards, if it's actually a card you have used down. We're not going to be able to attack with resource cards, obviously, so we can delete this and this as well. Now, technically, you wouldn't be able to drop an actual card that is not a creature card, so this can go as well with this. Let's pick all of that. Okay. So we have a creature, a card which is casted as a creature. We don't care about the resources anymore, but what we do care is if creature dot let's see, or if C dot is tapped. Okay, if it's tapped, then you can simply return. Okay, so we have a card. We don't care to tap any resource cards. We don't have any resources. The set parent now will be the battle grid. Okay, then for the player, we're not going to be adding on the down cards. We're going to be adding on the battle cards. Okay, and these two will stay like that. And we're not going to be removing them from our hands, of course, because it's already in down. We also need to one bracket here. So with this, we're basically just moving on a new grid, on a higher grid, and we're just adding on a list of battle cards. Okay, so we need this as an RPC as well. Player assigns card for battle. Actually, you know what? Let's also remove them from our hands card. Remove. See. Okay, we need to know the player ID and the instance ID. For this, player ID is a string though, still a string, and card ID, let's do it like that. Okay, so let's go now. I think on the RPCs we're calling the game operations, yes. So game operation, player ID, game operations, player assigns card for combat, and the card ID. Okay, simple as that. Since we're also here, let's duplicate all of this and make it so player unassigns card from battle. So basically, we don't need this anymore. We need to know if the battle cards contains this. We don't need the creature, and I think we don't even need this here. Yeah, we don't. At least not for now. We don't need this. Okay. So we have all of that. Okay. If it contains that, then it will go to your down grid. If you unassign it, then battle cards is going to remove that, and then we need this to be down grid, down cards, and then down cards dot add this, and this needs to be battle cards dot remove. Okay, so basically we just disable what we had over here without checking for is tapped, because you probably don't have that. So let's duplicate this as well. Player unassigns card from battle. Player ID, and then player unassigns card from combat. Or, okay, battle combat. Same thing. So, inside our game operation, we're simply going to say operation. Player assigns card for combat, and that card is going to be that player is going to be what we have above. Card over here. Then let's do the other one. Player unassigns card from combat, break, and then operation. Player. Oh, come on. That's not cool. Player and card. So player begins combat now. It's basically going to. We need to know if you are in combat or not. Once you are inside our mouse operations, because when you are clicking now your cards, we're basically going to selecting if you're going to be attacking or not by just clicking on the cards. So current card, okay, let's see. Yeah, I think where we're clicking it, this is where we're leaving it. When we're doing the get mouse button down, we should be checking here if we are on combat. So current player, you can say public bool in combat, and we can also have in block. Okay, so back to the game manager. We can create the RPC for this. Void RPC. Player begins combat. String. Player ID. Then game operations. Game operation from player. Player ID. Game operations. Player begins combat. And card ID, we can just pass -1. Okay. Then, basically, we don't need a method for this because it can simply be as simple as in combat equals true here. And since you are in combat, block should probably be false. Okay. So let's go and fix this one now. On our mouse operations, if mouse is down, if current card is not null, if current player is this, and if current player is not local, do this. And otherwise, if current player, okay, we're checking this. But now we want to check if current player dot in combat, else if current player dot in block, else if, and do this. Block will be a little bit different really because you're going to be able to select which of these. Yeah, you're going to be able to select which of these which card you want to block and so forth. Okay, so if you are in combat and you click on a card, game operations or game manager, let's do it via the RPC, which is not public. Yeah, technically we should be doing this via another method though. Whatever. Let's do it from here. Player assigns card for battle. Let's do it as public void. Public void. Okay, so you know what? No, let's not do any of that. Let's clear this and clear this. We still want this, but We're going to do a public void for broadcast. Player is clicking, or broadcast combat player is clicking a card. Okay, this is mostly going to be local, so let's take a look. Current card is card physical instance, okay. Card physical instance, and the actual player that we have here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to move everything from this, so player or combat player, or better yet, broadcast combat player is clicking a card, current player, current card. And we'll handle everything from the game manager, so we have everything here. So if player.battlecards.contains the card, if it's already there, else. Then if it is already contained there, then player, we're going to throw an RPC, player unassigns card from battle, player.player ID, card.card ID. And otherwise RPC player assigns, or let's do it via this, player assigns card for battle, player ID, card.card ID. Okay, so this will be sending the RPCs. Everywhere you see an RPC, that means we're going to add some network code that is going to be doing everything on all players. So if player is in combat, we need to know now when are we doing the operation for beginning the combat, and that is when you are ending a turn. So to master player ends turn. Before you assign the next player, yeah, we do have the game. Okay, so let's do case game operation, player does combat. Okay, and then we're going to do the RPCs inside the turn management, which we have over here. So void RPC to master player does combat string player ID, but after that you should be starting the other player, begin turn for player, yeah, you should be starting the turn for the other player, but you start it on block. We're going to worry about that on a later part, so just to keep things simple. So whenever you are ending your turn, you're not actually ending the turn, and so you're not going to be assigning this, the next player. I'm going to move the assign next player to player does combat, because I want to throw the player begins combat player ID here. Okay, once you debug the turn now, where we have this, you're not going to just do player ends turn. We're going to be checking if current player dot in combat else. So if you're not in combat, it's going to end the turn. Otherwise, you're going to be doing the combat. Okay. Awesome. So save all of that. Save this as well. I think we're ready to test this. Let's be sure. Let's see if we're sure. Okay, drop the card. Let's find the game manager. Debug turn. So we're stuck now. And okay, let's see why we're stuck. Because if you are in combat, then you're going to be doing this. Otherwise, you're going to be sending the player ends turn, which in turn is going to come over here, which is going to throw an operation, which is going to throw an RPC, which then again is going to throw an RPC for beginning the combat. Player begins combat. Game operation from player. Player begins combat. Player in combat equals true. Player in block equals false. Okay, so let's see. This should at least turn. Okay, so this is true. We don't have anything though. We can't drop anything. And debugging the turn again. Yeah, okay, so we have this at fault. So I think this never does, or player does combat. Oh yeah, we're never calling anything. So RPC does combat p dot player ID. Now we should do the full loop, at least. So debug turn. Now we're in combat. Now the other guy plays. Okay, now one thing we forgot. Is that when we are beginning the turn, in combat equals false. Let's also make false the block. Okay, just to be sure. So let's try and also add down the cards. So dropping this, back the turn, back the block, the combat, and okay, we want this. To drop that, let's click a few times this. Okay, so we're here. We're dropping the card. This will have been tapped, of course. We need to also tap them, the creature cards. Okay, then we're going to debug the turn. We are in combat, and I'm going to click over here. Okay, it moved on to the combat phase, but I think it got parented under somewhere else. Let's see. Yeah, we have nothing under the... Yeah, it got unparented from somewhere. So it should just stay there. I don't know why. Yeah, for whatever reason, it loses its connection. So it's something with the mouse operations. And let's see why. Player is clicking. And I think it's, yeah, maybe it is when you de-highlight the card. No. Maybe it's this. Card transform. This mouse down, current card is not null. Yeah, well, one of these is actually doing this, so who knows? Card, does operation. Yeah, I think it might be this that does it. But first, let's say that, although this doesn't make a lot of sense, why this will happen. But anyway, So let's say that on the game manager, whenever you begin or whenever you, should we do whenever you begin a combat? Yeah, okay. So player begins combat before you are calling the operation. Or actually, okay, let's do this here. If player dot downgrid dot count no, down cards dot count equals 0, then you're not going to be in combat, of course. Just do game operation from player ID, and maybe not do this as a game operation. Let's do this as an RPC. Player does combat p.player ID. Okay, so it will just skip the battle phase if you don't have any cards down, which means it's going to also skip your turn. Okay, save that. Hit play. Let's drop a card down. Oops. What? Oh. Yeah. Removing this was a bad idea, probably. So let's close that. So let's make it, if the card is down, if you are going to highlight the card, if card distance, okay. Yeah, we're not doing a lot here, so I don't know where that could come from. Let's do a set parent. Maybe it's this, the top render, I don't know. But even if that was it, let's compile. Oh, player 2 doesn't have, oh, and you don't have. Yeah, we forgot to assign the battle grids, apparently. Battle grid, clear that. Okay, hit play. Now let's see. So dropping a card, debug the turn again. As you can see, we didn't pass through any of the combat phase because there is no cards down. Drop that again, debug the turn, debug my turn, and we're dropping the card down. Okay, then we are in combat mode, and I'm going to click this, and now the card is on battle phase. Debugging the turn again, the player plays normally, but this card is now attacking. It did stay there. So whenever you're ending your turn, or whenever, damage has been dealt, so basically player does combat. Okay. Before you assign the next player, we need to send, or I guess we need to do this. Yeah, okay, assign next player. Yeah, this needs a little bit of thinking, but let's say that here we're going to be or let's do this here. Player does combat. Okay, let's add this here. First of all, I need to know who is the player that attacks. Okay, then for each card physical instance in p dot battle cards card dot first of all we can say damage sum equals with 0, and here we're going to be adding the add on the damage if not blocked. Okay, then we can send the RPC for player unassigning the or you know what, let's do another RPC because we want them to be tapped as well. So let's do it down here. So let's go for battle. Okay, we want to say RPC player uses card on combat. Okay, and we also want the operation void OP operation player uses card on combat. So technically it's going to be the exact same thing as unassigning the cards. Here, okay, but we're also going to have them being tapped. Do we have is tapped is going to be true, and local scale, local position. We can also do card are transform dot local Euler angles. Yeah, so instead of doing that, let's just say card physical instance public void tap card, and we're going to say is tapped equals true. Tap card, let's say bool status as well. Status, and if is tapped, card and transform local Eulers, and this is definitely going to be wrong. So here's what I'm going to check is I'm going to find all the other references where we have this and Euler angles, Eulers, and these are the Eulers we want. And instead of doing this here, I'm just going to go and say resources cards available I dot tap card and say true, and we can remove this entirely and this as well. So where is it? Card physical instance is tapped, Euler angles new, otherwise if it's false vector 3.0. Okay, let's see where else is this. So local position, local scale, we do want this as well, the local position and local scale, and we want this to say tap card true. Okay, let's see where else we have this, and here we're going to say see our resources card available tap card false. Okay, then on your down grid down cards dot count, let's also do the same thing, tap card false, this can go away. Okay, so yeah, so basically we now will also be able to tap those cards. Let's go back to the game manager though, and we are here. Player uses card on combat. You're doing everything, and you're going back to the down cards, and you're adding them on the down cards, and you're tapping the cards. I think though, yeah, let's remove this for now. Let's comment it out, because we won't be able to see that you're actually doing combat. So, player uses card on combat. This needs to be another operation. So, game operation from player, player ID, game operation, player uses card on combat, card ID. Okay, then this needs to be assigned on the operations here. Okay, so let's do case game operation dot player uses card on combat op p dot card. Okay, then let's go again on the player does combat. This will only run on the master, so it's safe. Then over here we're going to be throwing RPCs everywhere and going to be saying player uses card on combat. The player is the player ID we have above, and the card will be card.card ID. Okay, and finally, after that, we're going to be sending the RPC for the damage sum. Void RPC, apply, or not just apply health to player, integer health, and player ID, of course, string player ID, and I don't, yeah, okay, we can do this as a game operation as well, just to be consistent. So game operation, apply health to player. So game operation from player, player ID. Oh, that's the target player, not the player that does this. So target player, game operation, apply health to player, and -1 again. So we have our damage sum. We do not calculate the block here just yet. Okay, so for now I'm just going to do a player holder, public integer, player health, set it to 20, and after all that is calculated RPC player, or assign, apply health to player. Target player will be the player we are attacking. We need that now. So let's say -1 and then say damage sum. So let's see, when you are assigning this is a string, when we're assigning the next player, let's see who that is. Get player, player ID, index player order. Okay, so let's say get next player holder. Okay, so you're passing your own player ID. Index, and then index higher than 0, and then you are returning your player order index. Okay, that will work. So string target player, and you're going to be passing a player ID, and over here player holder target player player ID. Okay, so you're going to be passing a sum. I'm going to assign that, and apply health to player is going to be doing the game operation, which means we need to go now and add that again as a game operation. And we're simply going to be changing the player dot player health to, oops, yeah, so we can't do this here because we don't have the actual value we're passing, so it needs to be done on the RPC itself. So it doesn't need to be a game operation then. So let's do a pick definition and remove this from here, which is going to give us an error down here because there's not anymore a game operation, but we can do player holder P get player target player, then your new health is going to be the new health you're taking from the network. Close that, and master, okay, select player. Let's find this, okay. So the new health should be target player dot player health minus the damage sum, and then pass that as your new health. So here's where the calculation for damage is happening, and we're doing this to master, so it's also a bit of authoritative. Okay, awesome. So player begins combat. Let's see, where are we calling this? Player does combat, player does combat. Okay, awesome. So let's save that. Now we should take, actually, you know what, let's do on, yeah, okay, we have hard coded the damage sum to 2, so that means if we are doing a combat and there is a card down, actually even if there is not a card down, we're going to have, yeah, okay, let's do it differently. Let's set this as 0, and we're just going to hard code damage sum plus 2 for each card you have down. Hit play, and I'm going to drop that here, there. Debug the turn. Let's drop that down as well. Debug the turn, and then we're going to drop it here. Debug turn. You're going to do combat. Okay. Player health for both of them is 20, and ending the turn. Okay, we do have an invalid. And this happens on Game Manager 196. For each in battle cards. Player uses card on combat. Player uses card on combat. Oh yeah. We don't want any of this actually. We just want them to be tapped. Well, okay, we can use them, but we're going to have to change the logic a little bit on the game manager. Instead of a for each loop, we can do a for loop for integer I p dot battle cards dot length dot count -1, and while this is higher or equals to 0, I minus minus. Player ID, and over here we just need to have battle cards I dot card ID. Okay, so now we're going to be modifying the list, but it's on previous entries, so we don't have an issue there. Okay, drop the card. debug turn, drop that there, is combat, is going to attack, debug the turn, and it stopped. But we did the damage on our own self. Huh. Okay. So we have an issue with damage allocation. Why though? Target player, get next player holder. Getting your own player ID. Get the index. We add one. Resets back to 0. That's interesting. So let's say debug.log player ID. Actually, no. Get next. Yeah, that should have worked, but anyway. Let's do debug.log RPC player ID plus p.player ID plus target player ID plus target player dot player ID. Or you know what? I could have just add a breakpoint, to be honest. And let's see what that's going to do. Okay, let's hit play. Drop that. Debug. Okay, we don't care for that one. Debug that. Yeah, that's why I shouldn't have added. Okay, debug turn. Player 1, target player, player 1. Why are you returning your own then? Oh, that's interesting. Get player 1. Index player ID, then okay. That's weird. Let's see, maybe I think it changes. I think we're changing this first. So let's do on the game operations. We have current player, player ID. Okay, that's not what we want. Still not what we want. Use card and combat. No. Let's go backwards. So, bit lost. Okay, player begins combat. Player is going to do combat, and that should be, yeah, okay. We know this works fine. But this now has an issue. The get next player holder is not working correctly. For whatever reason. Okay, so let's try and let's use a debug log. Debug turn, debug turn, debug turn. Drop that guy down there. Debug turn. I'm going to drop that, and I'm going to attach this and add a breakpoint here, and also a breakpoint here. Okay, then I'm going to click debug turn. So here we are. We have player ID 1, get next player, player 1, then the index of player 1 is going to be 0. Oh, yeah, I see what I did. Forgot to do an increment of this. So now it will be doing the damage on the proper player. Okay, debug there, debug there. Yeah, I should have dropped a resources card. I don't think I can drop it now. Yeah, I can't. Okay, so combat, attack, and there we are. Player health 18 for the second player. So once you are finishing your cards, when you are beginning your turn, drop resource card in combat, in block. Okay, instead of resetting the tab cards, we're going to be saying for integer I battle cards dot count. Let's clear that. Down cards. If you have any cards down, then untap them. But if you have any battle cards, we're going to be moving them on the down cards grid, but they're going to be tapped as well. So let's see how are we handling that. We're doing this on the game manager. And we want the, yeah, just copy this and this. So back to player holder, battle cards, I transform, and battle cards I dot set transform or transform. Set, do we have M transform or just, yeah, just transform. Set parent to downgrade. Okay, and that should bring back the attacking cards, but now they should be tapped. Was it like this actually? Yeah, I don't know. I need to check the rules a little bit. I don't remember if the cards were tapped when you were finishing the combat. Oops. Okay, so combat, attack, and there we go. Okay. Now, there are a few issues with this, because where we are changing, it does reset them back again. Oh no, it's our turn again. Okay, debug turn. Let's attack with two of these guys. This is an issue. For whatever reason, we have them be at the same place. I think we should fix it. I think we should do this via the card art transforms and not the grid. But anyway, if we click now debug turn, okay, we have player health at 14 and so on and so on. So we have a full game loop. You can do damage. The only thing left is add the block, add the game over and stuff like that, and we have a working prototype again. Obviously only locally, but we're going to be what we're going to add on multiplayer. That's why we're taking the time to do everything with RPCs and IDs. It's going to be super fast, and it's going to, yeah, you're going to see that adding multiplayer to this is going to be really, really easy. So anyway, let's finish with this part. As always, you know what to do: like, subscribe, and if you like to see more videos like this, more series, other type types of games and so forth, then your support is really needed so we can keep making all of these nice things. I'll see you next time.